kick off by way of introduction. Whoops, hello, recording in progress. But by way of introduction, I am Les Mann from the Phi Lambda chapter at the University of Washington class of 1973. I currently serve on the Foundation Board of Trustees, and I'm a past Phi Alpha of the fraternity and a past president of the foundation. Everyone on the call tonight is connected to the Heritage Society, and as such, we have all generously committed to Zeta Psi fraternity or the Zeta Psi Educational Foundation as part of our planned giving through either a bequest, an insurance policy, or a trust. And on behalf of everyone in our fraternity, thank you very much for that dedication. These Heritage seminars really grew out of a desire to build more camaraderie across this group of people that have decided to pledge a portion of their estate to Zeta Psi. We now comprise more than 500 members, representing a potential several $1 million worth of future giving to our organization. And that includes 73 past members, including most recently Horace Kenny from the Eta chapter at Yale. He was class of 47. So a quick nod of recognition to Horace, who interestingly, as has happened several times, many of us are registered as part of the Heritage Society, but we've also received gifts from those estates that we did not know were even interested. So a tip of the hat to Horace in past tense. All of this contributes to our collective efforts to provide scholarships and leadership training to our undergraduate chapters. So here we are on Zoom, and by now I'm gonna assume that we've all become pretty accustomed to Zoom protocols. But just as a review, recommend that we all stay on mute with the exception of the speakers until the Q&A. If you have questions during the presentation, go ahead and drop them in the chat box down in the lower menu bar. We will try to fold those in and prompt the speakers to react to those, and or we'll save them towards the end. So to tonight's program, we will get a sneak preview of Seattle. Seattle is known as the Emerald City, so named because of its year-round greenery. And assuming that most everyone on the call is planning to be there, it is absolutely beautiful in the summer. Two Zates will serve as our guides. The lead presenter is John Jones. He's from Case Western Reserve University, the new chapter, class of 91. And he has served on the Phi Lambda Elder Board after coming to Seattle some 25 years ago on a vacation. Ended up taking a job there and staying, fell in love with the Northwest and have been exploring it ever since. John works in engineering, supply chain, and operations, and he will be our lead presenter and has done, I've had a preview of his presentation. He's done a lot of work to pull together some great information for us tonight. The other person that may be chiming in is another Seattle transplant, Robert Edgman. He was originally a Texas Zate from class of 1988. He settled in Seattle and now runs Edgman Management and Consulting, his business, which manages, I've lost track of how many Greek houses at the University of Washington, but a dedicated Zate, having served on the Phi Lambda Elder Board, and he now serves the International Fraternity Executive Committee as our Sigma Alpha. So with that as an introduction, John, Robert, whoever wants to lead off, you have the floor. And you're both muted.
John, you're muted.
There we go. So thank you for the invite to the Heritage Society here. This is Convention 2023 in Seattle. July 21st to 23rd. You will notice in this presentation, there are a number of underlined text, and those are all active links. Part of what we'll do is we will send this presentation out, and you'll be able to access all the links and the data, the information I have on here, including this interactive map, which we'll try and go. It's a Google map of the Seattle area, and all these little teardrops are places I'm going to talk about. I didn't go out farther beyond Seattle, but at least gives you an idea. You can send this link to your phone and have it with you when you're in Seattle. Food. Food is a main interest for everybody. Seattle has a lot of very excellent restaurants. These are just a sampling, just in part because of their uniqueness to Seattle and what we have here. Terra Plata is a farm to table, excellent restaurant. Elliott's Oyster House is in Belltown. It's on the waterfront. Seattle is a seaport, connected to the sea. Canlis is in Queen Anne, a little bit farther away. It's been active for over 70 years as a 5-star restaurant. Sushi Kashiba, I hope we're pronouncing that right. I've not been there. It's in Belltown. It is the sushi restaurant of sushi restaurants in Seattle. The gentleman that runs it is a sushi chef there, trains everybody else. It is the premier one to go to if you're interested in sushi. El Nido is in Alki. It's the little point that overlooks Seattle. It is a unique pasta restaurant. I would not say it's an Italian restaurant. It's very small, but it makes their own pasta into their dishes, and it's a rotating menu, so you never know what you're going to get there. But excellent food. And then one that's I've been to a number of these restaurants. It's 13 Coin. I think there's 4 or 5 in the Seattle area. They're one of the best 24-hour restaurants in the country. Is literally across from baggage claim at the airport. I have met representatives from companies I'm dealing with on their way back to Asia. They literally have had a 2 or 3 hour layover in Seattle and met them for lunch or dinner or a snack at this restaurant. All excellent food, unique atmospheres, places to go. Spirits. Cannon is a whiskey bar in Seattle. It is an old world atmosphere. What's unique about it, it has 4,000 labels that you can sample. You might want to take these and paste, because there's more than you're ever going to be able to taste. Right down the street from there is Tavern Law. If you want to think of an old British men's club, this is it. The food there is also excellent. A couple beer places. Georgetown Brewing is in Sodo, a little bit south of downtown, south of the stadiums. It is Zeta and UW alum owned. And then there's Machine House Brewing, which is in Seattle. British style beers. If you're expecting a nice, cold, refreshing drink, this is not the place to go. They serve their beer warm. Something to tie these kind of in. 70% of the hops grown in this country are grown in the Yakima Valley, Central Washington. So you are most likely, if you're drinking American-made beer, you most likely are drinking some with Washington hops in it. Wine. Wine is dear to my heart. I did not have any interest in wine until I came to Seattle, and now I've been going to wine tastings and visiting wineries in Washington for 20 years now. Washington's the second most wine grapes grown in the country. Well behind California, but there are 1,000 tasting rooms in the state, 17 million cases of wine, and 60,000 acres of wines grown in the state. If you are interested in wine tasting and staying around Seattle, Woodinville area is about half an hour, 45 minutes northeast of Seattle. Chateau Ste. Michelle is the queen of Seattle wines. It is the biggest producer, has bought up a number of their biggest competitors. They have an excellent tasting room and experience, from regular table wines to very premier high-end wines there. A number of the alumni have club memberships there, including me, that you can get to see some of the premiere. They do tours, they do concerts. So there's a very big outfit. If you're going to Woodinville, start your tour there. But outside Seattle, if you're spending some time in the area, there are 3 regional areas to go to. Yakima Valley stretches from Yakima to Prosser. Horse Heaven Hills is in that area. Many boutique wineries in that area. Traverse is right on the western edge. It's all sparkling wines. It's got an excellent Syrah sparkling wine that I've never had anywhere else. To Prosser, and there's some boutique wines there, particularly Coyote Canyon. I know and have worked there for spring wine barrel tasting. Just beyond Prosser in the Yakima Valley region is Tri-Cities and Red Mountain. These are all premier wines. You're not going to get out of there buying a bottle of wine for less than $45 and up. But it's some of the premier wines from the state. If you want to spend some more time, the Walla Walla Valley, Walla Walla specifically, there's 40 wines in downtown that you can sit and walk to. Last summer, a group of us did an Airbnb in downtown, and we visited a number of them. Some fine food, excellent atmosphere. Bledsoe's Family Winery is downtown. You have to make an appointment to get there, but they actually have some pretty good damn wine. So attractions, right pretty much within walking distance of the hotel, the Space Needle, Chihuli's Garden and Glass, and Mopop, Museum of Pop Culture. It used to be Experience Music Project. They've gone under Mopop Museum for the last few years. They're all within walking distance. You can get a group pass discount, whether you want to see 2 people to see all 3 or 10 people to see 1. They have all kinds of discounts to go and see these. They're close. They're excellent to see. The Space Needle has just been recently remodeled. So Chihuly, don't take kids to Chihuly. It is glass, but Mopop is pop culture. You never know what you're going to have there. They've got rotating exhibits. I do not know what the exhibits are for July. Pike Place Market, one of the oldest commonly held markets in the country. That's where whenever a sports team comes to Seattle and they do the throwing fish, that's where they do it at. All kinds of seafood you can buy there, fresh off the boats, market, greenery, flowers, everything there. Don't just stay on the, if you go, don't just stay on the top floor, go explore the lower floors. There's a magic shop that's been there for 40, 50 years. All kinds of cultural things you can see and experience. Even on the backside, just outside of it, there's a spice market that's wonderful. Unique thing about the Pike Place Market, in World War II, when they interned the Japanese population of the area, the Pike Place Market farmers got together and kept their farms going. Half the farmers market was Japanese. They kept their farms going. They put all the profits from them in a jar, and when the people came back to their farms were intact, and their money was available to them, so they got a fresh start. I think that was incredible. There's some murals there around it that exemplify that. The original Starbucks is across the street from it. Seattle Art Museum, excellent art museum. Buy your tickets ahead of time. It's sometimes a line to get into. Ballard Locks, also close to the downtown area, a little bit farther away. It's not easy to necessarily to get to walking wise. You wouldn't think locks are too much to experience, but they have a fish ladder in them. In July, there will be salmon swimming up the fish ladder to the fresh water. It is amazing to see. You can see a dozen, you can see 50, I've seen 120. salmon swimming in the glass in the locks, and to see all the boats go back and forth. It's pretty cool. Museum of Flight, that's a little bit farther south. It's about halfway between Seattle downtown and the airport. Boeing has a big hand in this. All kinds of planes, fighters, Concorde, everything to see there. If those don't interest you and you're more other things, Puget Sound cruises, which will be on one going around Lake Union, but they also have cruises that go around the Sound. They have cruises that go up to the San Juan Islands, and all the way up to Vancouver, Victoria. Some other things that people I know have gone to: ghost tours, underground tours, food tours. All of those you can find buy one get one free coupons for. If you go to a new city, me and my wife always try to go do the food tour early on, because you'll find all kinds of things about the city that you're going to that you don't know, and they feed you. And it's a guided tour. It's pretty cool. Transit. This is not one of Seattle's best subjects. There is light rail straight from the airport to downtown, goes all the way up to Northgate. So a little bit beyond downtown. There's a monorail in downtown that can get you around partially. I suggest getting online. If you're going to use these, get an Orca card before you go. That way you don't ever have to bring your wallet out. You can just take your Orca card. But there's some public transportation. The hotel's going to give you the best routes and how to get around if you don't have a car. Seattle is fantastic during the summer. We pretty much from July 4th on, we don't have any rain. 1 week of really hot weather. Otherwise, it's mild, 70s, 80s, sunny. Doesn't get too hot at night. So there's festivals going on all across the state all summer. Just happens that this weekend is one of the biggest festival weekends in Seattle. Bite Seattle is a food festival. If you've been to food festivals elsewhere, this one is got some very well known chefs, national chefs, that will have their food trucks and presentations there. It's an incredible food fest to go and eat. Alki Point Art Festival going on all that weekend. That's the point that overlooks Seattle. There's a Native American Indian powwow in Magnolia all weekend. Chinatown Parade, traditional Chinese parade with dragons and all the festivities there. That's just outside of downtown. A little farther away, it's out by me, so it's probably a good hour from Seattle, is a Scottish festival in Highland Games. They are doing all the strongman competitions, bagpipes, all that going on that weekend in Enumclaw. And a little farther out, probably about 2-3 hours away, up in Sequim, which is the Northern Peninsula, is a lavender festival. Fields of lavender. If outdoor activities suit you more, there's Chambers Bay and Washington National golf courses. Chambers Bay was the home of the US Open a few years ago. It is a challenging, excellent course. I've never played it. I'm not that good. But it's a fantastic view right on the Sound. Charter fishing for salmon, that will be open at the end of July. If you want to go out, you probably won't go out from Seattle. You probably go up north to Edmonds, which is about an hour and a half north, or go out to the coast, Central Washington, and go out there, and we can help you with that. I've done both. Rainier National Forest, less than 2 hours from Seattle. St. Helens, volcano that erupted a few years ago. It has got excellent interpretive centers to show you what happened and what it was before and after. And then the San Juan Islands. Our Canadian brethren, this is the one place that the US and Canadian fought over. This is the San Juan Islands, where the demarcation line was. Beautiful. You will see eagles, you'll see whales, all kinds of wildlife, whether you go on a boat tour or just take the ferry up. Threw in this per request. This is the schedule. Will be in the PowerPoint presentation if you want to go back and refer to it. Lots of activities. They've reduced the number of days, so it's a lot of stuff jammed in. But we would love to have you and love to help you if you want anything outside. The PowerPoint presentation has my contact information and Robert's. If you need any questions or want suggestions or even who to contact, I've spent 25 years exploring Seattle and Washington and love it. So most of those things I've gone and done and experienced, so we can help you get that. If we don't, we know somebody that has.
So, follow up on some of the things that John has said. I just really want to emphasize the weather. The weather predicted weather by the Farmer's Almanac for those days of convention are 78 to 83 degrees during the day, 0 humidity, and at night 54. We average 0.6 inches of rain during the month of July, which comes out, and you're talking that's spread out over maybe 2 or 3 days max. So you have nothing to worry about there. I just sent you all a link. This is the Seattle City Pass. The Seattle City Pass, it's, you go online, you pick the dates that you want. It's good for 9 days. And what that lets you do, you're saving about 40 to 50%. And you get, it lets you go to the Space Needle, the aquarium, the Museum of Pop Culture, Woodland Park Zoo, the Chihuly Glass Museum, and the Argosy Cruise. It's probably one of the best things to do. What I would encourage you all to do is hook up with your pledge brothers or some of your other closer friends and plan ahead of time what dates you go by the pass together. And when you guys come, you've already got a way for you to do things together, kind of rekindle some old memories, and also keep the houses entertained as well. Couple other things for those of you that I know like to imbibe a little bit. He was talking about Tavern Law. Well, Tavern Law has a speakeasy in it. It's called the Needle and the Thread. You have to call ahead to make reservations, but what the neat is, you walk in there, they have a big safe, floor to ceiling with a phone. You pick up the phone, you give them their name, they unlock the safe, go upstairs, and there they have some of the probably the best ologists in the country. You can request a drink, but they don't want you to. They want you to tell them what flavors you like, and they will make for you your own personal unique cocktail based on what you tried. And free, and if you like it, you mentioned the Orca cards again. I think that is online. You can order your Orca cards online, so that when you get to the station, you just type in the number, that card. So you don't have to, it's a very easy process. And the other thing I really strongly recommend that you guys do that John has on there is the Seattle Underground Tour. What people don't realize is that Seattle was a whole story below where it is now. Now you have to understand that Seattle was on wetland marshes, places that you shouldn't build. And during the Great Seattle Fire, rather than basically destroy the buildings or take away all the rubble, they just put a whole layer of topsoil. Well, not really topsoil, sawdust and dead horses and things like that. But they put that whole layer up there and then built on top of it. So there is literally in the downtown area, the old historical area, there is an entire story below. The buildings that you're going into are the second story. The Seattle Underground tells some incredible history about Seattle that's not boring. One of the examples that I will give to you that you will hear that I think particularly basically is appropriate for Zeta humor and Zeta sensibility is that during the late 1800s, when Seattle was just growing, approximately 6% of their workforce was listed as seamstresses. These seamstresses all lived in the same street in Pioneer Square, and the city made its revenue by taxing sewing machines. They taxed each seamstress. They assumed they had a sewing machine $10 a week, $520 a year. The funny thing is, though, there were actually no sewing machines and no sewing was actually done. However, the over 50% of the income, actually 60% of the city's income, came from the seamstresses of the Great Fire. That last thing is the person who was in charge of the seamstresses. Her name was Madame Lou. She built the most elegant building in Seattle. It's 4 stories. She, in 15 years, became the largest landowner in the Pacific Northwest. She contributed the majority of the money to start the public school. During the Depression of 1893, she actually loaned money to banks to keep them afloat. She was a very good seamstress, obviously. The last thing, her establishment was right next to the largest Roman Catholic church, Our Lady of Good Hope. And it was said that during the Panic of 1893, those were the 2 most financially solvent institutes in all of Seattle. That's the type of stuff that they tell during the underground tour and actually show you some of the that correspond with the stories. So I would encourage
So seamstresses.
yes.
You got it.
with no sewing machine.
So Robert or John, one of the questions in the chat box relates to how practical is the public transportation to get from the airport to the hotel?
That's probably the most practical part. I mean, literally, you get off you go into the hotel or out of the airport. You go right into the light rail. It takes you within a couple blocks or a block of the hotel. While our public transportation leaves a lot to be desired, they were smart enough to know that we lose money if we make it go successfully and easily from the airport to the downtown hotels. So
Does
the
the
nice thing
hotel,
is,
does the hotel
Sorry?
not have a shuttle?
no.
Okay.
The other thing is that also going to the chapter house for the Thursday night barbecue, the light rail will go from the hotel to within a few of the chapter house. So. What other questions do you guys have? I would, if you have the time, I would strongly encourage you to either plan on getting to Seattle early or plan on late. I'm a military brat. I've grown up all over the country and been all over the world, and I have to say that there's no place that I've ever lived that is better for outdoors than Seattle in July and August. Now, we pay for that dearly in November, December, and January when we don't see the sun for at least 120 days. But July and August, it's incredible. And there's so much to do if you like the outdoors. One of the things to take in consideration is if you have the time afterwards is you can do whale watching. The orcas and the graves are out. And so you can actually go, you have to drive up a little up north a little bit, probably about 40 miles, but then you can get into a whaleboat and actually go out there, and you get close enough to the graves that they will, you will get drenched with their out of their blowholes. So it's an incredible experience. Also, if you just like to hike, literally within 20 minutes going east, you have some of the best hiking trails in the country. So that type of thing.
So I have a question that's off topic. And it's the question is for Jeff, who is making his appearance tonight looking like an old microwave oven.
Old TV.
Old TV. Oh, that's what it is. Oh, God. Okay. Glad I asked.
What's your question?
That was my question. I was trying to
Oh,
figure out
what is
what it was.
Okay, so I'm reading, there's another question here. Are there kid-friendly things to do? Yes. So the Woodland Park Zoo, which you can get with the Seattle Pass, is one of the more established and more animal-friendly zoos. Seattle was one of the first actually remove the animals from cages and put them as close to natural as possible in a zoo. The news, let's see, you've got that. You've got the aquarium. The aquarium is great, and they actually have a petting zoo in the. I had to see that to believe it, but there's a place where the kids can pet starfish and things like that. And again, the aquatic life is very, very diverse.
If you go there, check on when the feeding time for the octopus are. Because they will put the
yes.
food for the octopus in a container. And the octopus will have to open it up and figure out how to get in. One of the places I did not
They
put
also-
on is Northwest Trek, which is down on the way to Rainier. That's an animal reserve, outdoor, a lot of it's outdoor. They've got a number of rescued bears, eagles, large cats there. That's another place that if you go there, you have to go and find out when the feeding time of the bear is. The bears, because they actually bring the bears in the cages, hide their food so they have a chance to rehabilitate them and send them back out in the wild. They don't usually make it. But to see a nice big 6'4" biker stand through a chain link fence next to a bear with a bottle of honey in his hand and him look dwarfed is amazing, because it was a brown bear, which are cousins to grizzly, but he will stand there. You're literally 6 foot away from these bear, and they're just going gaga over the honey. It's pretty incredible to see.
Another thing for children too is next to the Chihuly Art. While you're in the Chihuly Art Museum, last museum I should say, they have the Seattle Science Museum, which is think of Bill Nye the Science Guy's greatest dream, and that's what the Seattle the Science Museum is, and it's designed for the youngsters to go in and do hands-on work with with science and be building things of that nature. So that's a great. It's free. That's outdoors, close to our hotel. Is the outdoor sculpture museum, which is one of the more very things in the country. Right off this Puget Sound, so you've got all of these incredible sculptures, middle of the incredibly manicured green lawn, and you're out looking the sound. So
And they will give guided tours of that for free also.
I have a question. What is the Orca card versus the Seattle City Pass?
Those
Those are two
card is
different-
just for the transportation. It
Okay,
works on light rail, the monorail, and buses.
okay, got it. Thank you.
And that's the pass we need to get from the hotel up to the university.
New York Pass, yes.
Now, you can pay with a debit card or credit card when you too. It's just easier if you have a card and have it already set up and ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Well, now, one other thing too for you guys to think about, especially some of you, more athletic people like younger people like you, Frank, is that we are putting on Friday night what it's called the Zeta Games. So after before the barbecue, we're actually putting together teams from the different chapters, and the Zeta Games are similar to the Amazing Race. The people will be going around. Doing different tasks, and the purpose of that is to raise money for Camp Good Times. The underlying theme and sponsor of this convention is Camp Good Times. Good Times is a camp that is designed for children who have cancer or have been cured of cancer, and also there's Camp Good Times has been around for a long time. C.R. Roberts was a counselor there, and we've had a lot of Zates there that have been cured. We've raised money for times. In fact, there's a cabin called Zeta Psi. And the Argosy cruise on Thursday night is the Camp Good Time boat. That's what it's named. And then, like I said, we'll be doing the Zeta Games with the barbecue, letting basically delegates and elders compete and some fun competition, and at the same time raising money for camps. So it'll be a little different than what you've experienced at other conventions, but we think it'll be a lot of fun and unique, and also just a good way of giving back.
Question in the chat on a little more detail on the boat cruise, where it's going to go, what types of things are going to be seen.
So the cruise will be So the boat cruise, you'll within walking distance of the hotel. To get to the dock, you'll get details when you get there. It's a cruise on Puget Sound. So what is mainly seeing the sound, you'll be seeing the city of Seattle from the Elliott Bay. So you get the skyline of the city, and that's the majority. It's basically taking a look at the Seattle skyline, looking at Alki, the city settlers first settled, and what's nice is because our sun does not set until around close to a little after 9 o'clock, completely, at that time of the year, you'll be very nice sunset, full sunset. Not at the beginning of the cruise, but during the whole cruise, and so it's time, and the food will be very good too as well. Another thing,
The cruise is
that
not going to
we
go
will
on,
be having.
the cruise is not going to go on Lake Washington?
No, that did not,
Okay,
logistics didn't work out. So we're having also starting Thursday, the Seattle Suite. The purpose of the Seattle Suite is to give all of the delegates, all the guests and all of the elders a centralized place where they can either arrange with their other Zeta friends to meet. Also, it'll be a source of material for things to do in the city. The suite will be manned by at least 1 or 2 undergraduates from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. And it will be in the morning having small bagels and cream cheese and fruit type breakfast that'll be available for people if they want to come. We're putting this because we just think that it's really helpful if the elders have a centralized place where they can arrange to, at different times of the day, either meet people, have it as a rendezvous point, and also have it as a resource of just ideas of what to do in the city, brochures and things of that nature. And I know there's a question about this, but there will not be any scotch in the Seattle Suite. It will be all dry. So, sorry, guys.
all right, other questions?
Hey, has anybody ever been to that Treehouse Masters guy? He's got a compound like just east of Seattle in the forest.
I've been by it.
Return.
I've not done the tour there, but I know where he is.
Yeah, we're
I know people
girls
tell them
and I
they're
are-
gone, but I don't know them coming back.
Yeah, we're totally into that. So I might have to go check that out.
I just want to bring up with Edge, there's a typo in the schedule. The Canadian Foundation does not have their annual general meeting during convention. We have that in November. That's the Canadian Foundation Roundtable.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
One
right,
last thing, then,
Oh, go ahead.
I would encourage you guys, we're going to be sending out John's presentation, which again will have those links that you will be able to use on your phone device. It will have to you can download, so you can just click on there. I would encourage that you guys send out to all of your pledge brothers and people that you still keep connected with that are Zates. This is going to be it's a fun time here, and we know we're a little out of the way. But I also think what's nice about the way Seattle is set up, it's a very easy place to do reunions. It's a very easy place to arrange ahead of time and get back together with some of your brothers that you've only talked with on the phone or seen on a Zoom call or FaceTime. What the heck we're doing now, send it to them, give them the invite. Yes, we love to have you at the convention, but more importantly, we would love to reunite with the brothers that you were with in your undergraduate years. And this convention, this atmosphere is an ideal situation setting for you guys to do that.
Hey, it's nice and close for me.
All right, so a lot of preparation went into this, particularly John with your slides. Thank you very, very much. It'll get wider distribution here in the next week or so. So really appreciate the homework that went into this, and it's fun stuff. So Barth, I think you had one last announcement that I was supposed to make. There it is. So Friday night will be an in-person heritage event, which will be at the Phi Lambda Chapter House. The name Burroughs means a lot to Phi Lambda Zates. The elder Burroughs helped fund the expansion of that chapter house back in the 1960s. And small world that it is, his son is a pledge brother of mine. But in any event, that'll be a fun event on Friday night, the 21st. And finally, all right, if anybody doesn't know how to get a hold of Barth, this is how you do it. But most importantly, really look forward to seeing everybody in Seattle.
Yes.
And with that, I think we can, for those that haven't had dinner, well, you can go get dinner. For me, for me, it's almost happy hour. So.
And I still have work, so.
Happy hour started an hour ago for me.
There you go.
Thank you, brothers. This was great. Look forward to
Yeah,
seeing
this
you.
is great,
Thanks
guys.
very much.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Edge.